Today, I'll finish this episode.
I know where this story ends.
Don't worry, you'll get proper co-authoring credits.
Have you ever wanted a way to cut through the noise? Do you want to get straight to the answers? Then you need the brand new Writ bullshit detector. Guaranteed to cut through the crap and keep your efforts truthful.
This relationship will last till Act 3, I just know it.
I think this character has to die in the climax.
I think this guy will stay alive through all 7 books.
Try it on your friends. Try it on yourself. See if you're really writing a great story. This patented detector grades your statements based on the countless efforts of failed writers before you to guide your phrases towards utter truth. Guaranteed to encourage only the best stories from the best writers, eliminating the haze and the false truths uttered by hopeful writers everywhere. Guaranteed to revolutionize your efforts in the story crafting department.
I will get these edits done today.
I'm going to publish a bestseller.
Her husband still cares.
I'm going to self-publish a book.
Wow, this sounds very intriguing! You mean to tell me that I could use all this to eliminate all the kerfuffle that surrounds me? Sort all the statements of my friends into falsehoods and truths?
Not recommended for any purpose other than means related to your writing projects. The Writ takes no responsibility for any relationships, damage, hard feelings, injury, or possible medical emergencies that may occur from attempting to force this product never to use. The Writ does not guarantee its success if you remove the detector from its purpose realm of written work-related projects.
Either way, I need to spruce up my stories by getting all the false garbage out of them! Tell me more!
We are glad you asked. This wonderful, amazing, capable, incredible device that always works can be yours for one measly payment of $19.95. That is $1,990.05. For such a cheap price, why not purchase for the whole writing hopeful family? It will separate the chaff from the wheat, take all the horribly untrue devices from your writing, and enhance your story by cutting all the bullshit out. Try yours today.
Fantastic! Sign me up! Wait, that odd price. Is this some kind of hoax?
That was beautiful, David. I'm gonna get me a BS detector right now. Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of the Writ, the show where us two twits constantly belittle our listeners, and you expect them to listen when we talk about writing. So you better keep doing it, listeners. We got some writing to talk about here. Some real writing talk.
We got some wit to pass on to you about the art of writing.
It's so much wit. So much writ. Hey, we should call this podcast the Writ.
No.
That's it.
We were already on 12 episodes. We can't do that now.
How is wit harder to say than writ? Like, try and say it, David.
Wit.
See, isn't it difficult?
Wit. Well, I've had practice with tongue twisters, but anyway.
Hey, show off. That's enough. All right. Hey, so this is our 12th episode. So you pointed this out, David, before we started recording, but this is
true.
Discounting the 9-month break that had nothing to do with pregnancy. This is our year anniversary of the podcast. We've been doing this for a whole year.
No, that would technically be 13, right? Because 12 is the end of a year, right?
Oh,
if
okay,
we're doing
fine.
once a month.
Okay,
but
fine.
Hey, we've reached a year, theoretically. Except we obviously passed that.
We have. If we did have something to do with pregnancy, then our baby is a year old, David.
Oh, jeez. Now, again, it's not yet a year until the next episode. But
our baby is getting there. He's going to have his first birthday. Is the Writ a boy or girl, David?
That's a good question. It came from 2 parents that are male, so I wonder, does that work? Anyway.
It's androgynous. Let's move on, okay? Why do we have to assume a gender, David?
I wasn't assuming.
This is 2017.
You asked me,
He can be whatever
Donald.
gender he wants.
You asked me. It's not my fault.
Stop
Anyways.
being so offensive, David. Stop it. Get with the times.
Why are we still talking about this? What will we rip off from this month? You mind if I go first?
No, I go first. Yeah, it's fine. Go first.
Thank you. I was watching another Tokusatsu show. Big surprise! Called More Recent Common Writer. And I just want to take you through the creative process that must have gone down in the meeting room, because this show was very, very strange. And what I mean by that is
Japan, that's saying something.
Well, but these guys, they sat down in the room and said, gee, how can we change the common writer formula? We've been doing the same thing for so long now. Is there any way we can make it different? Oh, I got it! This one guy was brilliant. He's like, I got it. Instead of having him ride, what if he drives?
See, that's what I thought they did anyway, so... I don't know. This is how shows how little I do with the genre.
To throw it out there, the name of this particular show is Kamen Rider Drive, and the main rider does not ride at all. Yeah, exactly. Why isn't he just called Kamen Driver? They're done. But anyway, Kamen Rider Drive, I really liked the show because it's a police detective who ends up running into this situation where he gets to put on armor, and the reason it's a car, the best I can figure out, is because the car houses like the AI consciousness of his partner, who helps him transform and all this stuff. And because
so it's like Knight Rider, Kamen Rider.
Well, I don't know about Knight Rider.
See, I always confuse the two of them in my head for even though they're nothing alike.
Yeah, exactly, they're nothing alike. But
they sound similar-ish. So
yep, no, you're not far off. But anyway. Because the main character, the main hero, is not an actual motorcycle rider, which is kind of the gimmick, I think that the second part of this conceptual meeting is like, I got it! The secondary riders will ride! Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the secondary riders. First of all, the show is named Drive. Now, the three of the characters' names, all three of these guys are riders at some point in the show. One of them is Go, literally Go. Another is named Chase.
Also good name.
And the third guy, his family name is Tomari, which in Japanese means stop.
That's pretty great. Well, that's very clever. 10 out of 10 for humor.
Not that exact form. Tomaru is the verb to stop. But anyway, that's his name. And the town where they're all operating out of is called
Radiator Springs.
No.
Cars reference.
Yeah, I get that. It's called Kuruma, which in Japanese means car.
A town named Car. Nice. It's Japan. Does that mean that eventually the whole town will rear up and turn into a giant robot that also can transform into a giant car?
Don't know. Anyways.
It probably doesn't have the budget for that, unfortunately.
The reason I'm talking about the secondary riders is the thing that I actually want to rip off from the show, and that is this.
Yes.
The two characters, Chase and Go, have a very one-sided relationship, and that is that Chase...
Well, one of them goes and one of them chases. That makes sense.
That's not what I was going for. Puns. Aren't they wonderful? So Chase is very, very unusual. He doesn't feel or express emotions very well. There's a reason for that, but I want you to discover it for yourself to figure out why, or at least look it up or something. But anyway, he is positive that Go is his comrade, his friend, this fellow protector. But Go doesn't want anything to do with him. Go thinks that because he's different, he cannot be a friend of this guy. And this is their working relationship, is that Go actively expresses how little he likes Chase, and Chase doesn't care, and he just continues acting the same way.
So Go's like, sorry, stop chasing me, Chase. Go's gotta go. And then Chase is like, no.
Not exactly, but sure. We'll let you have your fantasies there. Anyway, later on in the series, Chase does make a heroic sacrifice for Go.
Oh, no.
And at that point, Go realizes that despite his inhibitions, despite what he's been telling himself this entire time, that Chase was actually his friend. And it brings up the point that at some juncture, he must have changed his opinion without letting himself do it. You know, he was kind of did it subconsciously. And that idea of two characters who just don't like each other, but it actually turns out that they do, matches something that I'm trying to do with one of my Ranger fanfics. The two don't get along, and it is, in this case, it is a male-female pairing that eventually the plan is they end up together.
That's classic romantic comedies thing. The couple hates each other, and then they like each other.
Right, and so trying to make it...
It's a good formula because it works, so, yeah.
Exactly, it's worked before. But the way that they did that, in the scope of these people are fighting to save other people's lives, and they just don't get along with each other, but it turns out, really, there's no reason they shouldn't. And they end up realizing, hey, you're actually my friend, you're actually my comrade, and I really like that.
Maybe Go's like, I should have stopped.
I really like that relationship, and so that's the kind of thing that I'd like to take into especially the story I've already used it in, that I haven't gotten to that point yet, but
and then
that's what I'm ripping off from this week.
Transform into a giant bigger car to show that they're truly friends. They merge together into a big car. becomes a big two-headed robot. I need to write this show. And clearly I'm a master at it.
I will not make a comment except to say that they do have some combining thing, but it's not what you expect. Anyway, moving on. I'll let you talk about what you want to rip off from this month.
Alright, I'm going to rip off this movie. I don't really watch a lot of indie movies lately, but I decided to watch this one because I've heard a lot of people really like this director, and he's got Thor Ragnarok coming up. So, Taika Waititi, one of his movies, I think one of his first ones that, I mean, he's done other things, he's been an actor in other movies, but one of the first directorial efforts was this movie called What We Do in the Shadows. It's treated like a mockumentary about, it's about 4 vampires that live in New Zealand, because the director's New Zealandish, he's a Kiwi, I don't know what the term for being a New Zealander. Why am I so dumb? David, why am I so dumb?
Oh, they call themselves Kiwis too.
Okay, fine. So this New Zealander, so they have an apartment. They've been there for a while. It's really funny. Like, it's really clever, and it plays with the whole tropes of vampires so much. Like, they try to go out every night to go and meet people, but one of the quirks about vampires is that they have to be invited in. So they keep going like, hey, are we on that list? Nope. Okay, see ya. Hey, we're on that list? Nope. Okay, see ya. So they eventually, I think the reason why that's part of the vampire folklore, because it's all about they have to seduce you, you know? And they have to be like, oh, so I guess you can come in? Sure. Oh, now that I'm in, sucking your blood.
I'm not entirely sure of the reason, but...
James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, he has this great video in one of his other series, talks about like how if you look at all the quirks about vampires, they are no threat at all whatsoever. But they have to constantly take pictures of one another in order to make sure that when they dress up, they look good because they can't see themselves in a mirror.
Wait, so they can be seen through a camera, huh?
Anyways, but one point these two characters, they have a fight. It opens up with them like having a fight about having to do the dishes. And this guy who's been on dish duty for a while, he hasn't done it in 5 years. And the dishes are all covered in blood. And he keeps putting it off because blood is a pain in the ass to scrub off the dishes.
Well, or because he try eating what's left over, I suppose.
Right, but so eventually it culminates in this fight where two of them, they start fighting, they start throwing fists, and they start sissy slapping each other, but then they climb up on the wall and start slippy slapping each other on the surface, right, because vampires can walk on top of the wall, like not like Spider-Man where they crawl up, but just walk on the wall and the ceiling, no big deal. So they just start getting on top of the roof and they start sissy slapping each other. The other people are like, hey, come on, guys, knock it off, guys, knock it off. It's just really funny. But there's this one of their roommates, he's been a vampire for 8,000 years or something ridiculous, and he's so old and he doesn't really talk. He's just like when they try to do a meeting in the flat, he goes down to the basement where his coffin is. He opens up his coffin. He's standing there. And he's and he thinks he's dead. He keeps poking at him, and he's like, "Ah!" And it's wait, okay, we're having a flat meeting. I just wanted to see, and also the main character. He's played by Taika Waititi. If you ever seen him or heard him talk, he's got the most wimpy voice, or maybe that's just his character too. But he plays it oh, hello, I just wanted to see if we have a flat meeting. You know, I wanted to see if you could join us. You know, I mean, ooh, look at all these bones down here. You know, you really should do some cleaning. So. This other vampire just glares at him, he's like, oh, did you want to come up? Did you? And then finally he's just like, ah! It's like, oh, okay, fine. And he just walks off. It's great. But what I'm gonna rip off from it, I guess more maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what anything specifically. Just I always like that kind of humor, so I guess I've already kind of ripped off of it. But more what he did. This is all him. He's wanted to be a director and a writer for a long time, and he wrote and directed something that was a real passion project of his. That's why a lot of indie directors do that, though. You do it because you love it. So
it's a ton of work to do. It's a ton of work if you don't like it.
Right, but he did it and he liked it and he made a good enough movie and he made it pay off. And now Marvel's like, hey, you want to direct Thor Ragnarok? And he did. And granted, they do get a lot of indie directors a lot of times to help do their movies because they're easier to control, to keep in the Marvel formula. Like Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, he's always like, if you got an indie film, it's clear you know what to work with, but also you're easy to get into the formula that we've made so successful so long. But they gave Taika Waititi a lot of creative control. They give him a lot of freedom because you have a vision that's really distinct and people like it. What I'm going to rip off, I guess, is just maybe just a lifetime goal as a writer rather than just anything in the story itself. Just do what you like, and if you do it with enough passion and if enough people like it, eventually just don't give up, keep working hard, and you will get noticed. I mean, if in an ideal world. But...
Yep. I think that's
You get what I'm saying?
true.
I don't know.
I think...
I don't know. It's not really...
I mean, it's not like a story tactic, but it's certainly a worthwhile motivation that you need to do something that you are interested in doing. And if you work hard enough and you advance yourself to the best of your capabilities, you will get noticed for it somehow. And the payoff for that...
But you have to work for it, yes.
The payoff for that will reward you appropriately. If you don't work hard enough, your reward will not be as big. But if you work hard enough, you can get something like going from what we do in the shadows all the way to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is an amazing project going on for a long time now.
Yeah, it's the biggest film franchise in history now, worldwide. It's beaten the previous record holder, Harry Potter. And because they've got so many movies, and they keep churning them out so quickly, more so than a lot of other movie series, because it's all different directors and stuff, but on one big committee. Because of that, it's a record that will probably never be broken. I mean, eventually.
Obviously, you have to look at Marvel Cinematic Universe, currently continual. But if it stops, then there is a chance. But if it doesn't, then it's going to just keep setting its own record.
Even if it stops, it'll take a long time for something else to get close. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
So, yeah. If it stopped right now, probably Harry Potter could catch up because they're doing the Fantastic Beasts movies. So,
that's true. I hadn't thought
that's
of
what I'm going to rip off. So, moving on to the next segment, shall we?
All right, sure.
What we have writ. What have you writ, David?
Well, I might have mentioned a couple of episodes ago that I'm doing this duo story between my alter ego and one of our friend, the magical one. I put a lot more time into that of late, and it's going pretty well. I've still got a couple of scenes before it's done, but since it's done in one story, it's not like I have a deadline to fill. Although maybe I should put one on myself, and maybe that might
probably a good idea.
Finish it. I also have mentioned on this podcast the Power Rangers Fix Starburst that I'm working on with a co-author, a separate co-author. And I did edits on the latest saga that my co-author wrote, because with multi-parters, we typically say if it's longer than 3, we'll go back and forth like we do with the rest of the show. But if it's like 3 or less, you get all of it, or 3 or 2, I should say. You get all of that, because that way it's consistent throughout that saga. And so I was editing his stuff, and then I wrote the following episode. I just finished that and sent it back to him yesterday.
Nice, good.
Also, the usual, I come up with random songs just because I need to fill time doing something, and sometimes they're really good, but then I forget what they are, and I never wrote them down, so it's just kind of like, darn.
Well, like I said, though, sometimes that's how you can get a good filter. Like, if you forgot what it was, clearly it wasn't good enough for you to remember, was it? I don't know, I mean, it's not a reliable method, but that's what I use sometimes.
It's not a reliable method, but it truly works as a filter, because obviously, if it were more important, it'd stick.
Right, so...
But that's what I wrote. That's what I writ, I should say.
Yeah, good writting, Twit. Good writting, fellow Twit. As for what this Twit has writ, I've written... I've writ. So I got grammar. You have to use the proper grammar of the show.
I was about to say, you have to use the wrong grammar for the show.
No, it's the right grammar for the show. It's the wrong grammar in life.
It's wrong grammar for an English major. Let's go on.
And it's not even something I've written. It's something I'm recording.
Oh.
The Megazoic audiobook. I've gotten more into this now. I've tried to get, I tried to get this going because it's how a lot of people read their books. Like, a lot of people have their books on their phone, and they can just listen to it, while they're working out, while they're on a road trip. The nice thing about being published on Amazon is that it automatically gives you an Audible account, so, where you can put your books on Audible, and other Audible users can buy it and listen to it there. So,
to interject just a little bit, my real life dad struggles with dyslexia, and so he doesn't like actually reading, but audiobooks are great, especially when he had a long commute to work, and so he's probably listened to the entire Harry Potter series audio tapes done by Jim Dale. I think he's listened to each of them at least 15 times a piece.
That's
I kid you not. And he really loves the series, but there is a large audience of people out there that you will not reach through the written word that are probably just as desperate for good stories to hear. And so it's definitely an avenue worth pursuing, particularly if, like me, you have confidence in manipulating your own voice and doing that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, Donald is not me, so I'm sure that you have your own stories
to share. I'm not
share.
as good at it as you are, and plus you have your trained voice due to singing, so I'm not... But I've had to work for it harder, and trying to make sure I don't talk too fast, and trying to... make sure like I enunciate correctly and stuff. And I have to re-record a lot, but it's a lot of work. But it's been good so far. Like often what I do, I have to reserve a room at the library and I close the door and I record it there. Normally I do my writing before my job. I probably shouldn't say where it is. It's a coffee shop. It's a pretty famous one. You can figure it out. From there.
I was about to say, you might have just given it away. But, like...
I did, but that's okay. That's how often people tell people where they work without actually saying the name. So, anyways, oftentimes the way I get writing done is I come to work an hour before I have to clock on, right?
Sure.
And then I just write. But I can't do an audiobook that way.
I was about to say, they've got crowd noise going on, and so it filters into your recording, and it makes it really hard. There is one thing I do want to mention real quick. With voices and having a lot of disparate voices... The thing that's a real challenge about audiobooks, especially for like first timers, is that differentiating them all enough, but also making the different ones consistent. So it doesn't become this guy's voice is morphing like 70 times amongst the course of one book, even if he sounds different from the rest.
I have to like stop and like wait, that's the wrong voice, and then I just pause and I do it again. I fix it in editing.
Quick tipperoonie for that: if you have a sheet. Like, each character should have, like, a key phrase or, like, a word. And by saying that word, it should, like, unlock the character's voice.
Yeah, well, I've tried to make sure each character has a distinctive voice anyways. I mean, maybe not every character.
What I mean is this. Like, if you run into different dialogue and you have a conversation between multiple people, it can be really hard to get into the right voice. But if you take enough time and have that guide, oh, this person sounded like he's from Brooklyn. This person was from Texas. This person's an Indian. Well,
I kind of got that in my head, and I try to put it into my writing as I write as well, so it's a little bit easier for you. Sometimes I think I need to re-record probably the beginning of chapter 1. Well, not beginning, the middle, where Cortan and Bellar talk to each other, because they do sound kind of similar. I'll have to re-record that part.
And it is a process. I mean, it's probably not as
And this is
lengthy.
the first time I've ever done this before. They often say, like, hey, you should probably just hire someone else to do it, but... I like control, man.
You can't see me raising my hand, listeners, but anyway...
Yeah, well, you can do it if you want. I mean, if you really want to.
No, I won't.
If you really want to, I can discuss it over some paperwork.
No, I'm slightly kidding. I've been editing his stuff for so long that it wouldn't be worth having him pay me just to read the stuff in character voices like I have for years. But anyway,
and plus, I actually have an actual editor too. Yeah, so that I actually pay.
Yeah,
so it's not you.
I'm aware.
Stab you in the back.
Thanks. This is the thanks I get.
You're the unofficial editor. Okay, so just like you're the unofficial editor, you're also the unofficial book reader, audiobook reader. So,
well, the point is this. I read an article about this in a magazine a while back that my mom actually dog-eared for me, and that is they asked one guy who got into this industry what he did, and his answer was, fairly expected. He did a lot of it on his own before making a career out of it. Right. Like, he took a lot of books and practiced. How do you narrate? How do you enunciate clearly? What's the right delivery pace? How do you differentiate character voices? What the limitations of your voice are? Does that change the way you read a character? Making sure you read the book first so you're not surprised by anything. Because I can tell you on first dry runs, it's really hard sometimes to get the right emphasis in a sentence. Because the grammar doesn't really change, but the emphasis being in the right place totally changes what that sentence means. And so having a knowledge of the book ahead of time, and that was one of his recommendations too. But if you're going to do this as a serious thing, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, is that you should practice on other books before you try it on your own. Since we are a writing podcast, we're assuming they're your own. But that way, you have an idea of what it takes, of how it goes, your process, before you do it on one that really matters, when you're recording it on Audible. So
well, that makes sense. Well, those are all good tips. And I'm trying to the thing about having knowledge of the book, of course, that's why it's kind of easier for me, because of course I wrote the book, but also when I write dialogue, I have to envision it in my head, inflected a certain way, so I can actually say that then while recording it. So that's kind of nice.
It's true. You have that innate advantage.
In terms of voice, though, I do need to work on that. However, people have often told me that I have a pretty good voice, because at my coffee house, where that's very famous, that has a drive-through, a lot of people tell me hey, you haven't tell me you have a good voice for radio? My response is always no, but people have told me plenty of times I have a good face for radio.
Ba-doom!
Yeah, exactly. They love it. But so that's one of the reasons why this podcast of ours is so successful.
Apparently.
We're raking in the dough.
Raking in the money.
The
all those
the
subscribers, all those sponsors. Thanks, Marvel, DC, Amazon, eBay, Target, Walmart.
McDonald's. We got our own Happy Meal toys. Yours is kind of weird looking.
Well, I mean, come on. Mine would
the
always
likeness
be
of
weird
you isn't
looking.
the best.
Mine would always be weird looking. Wasn't it you?
You have Karate Chop action figure, though. You press this little lever here and you go, wee, 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 wee.
Wasn't it you who said that my face was like almost like the average of like the entire world's males?
I think I did. That's right. So I remember like there was like this picture I saw that like took all the faces of the entire. I mean, they're all male, like of the entire America, I think. And
it's just
they put
America,
them together in this one image, and it looks a lot like you. Like you are an average man, which is not bad. It's not good. It's average.
Apparently so.
But hey, like I said, some people think I sound like I'm saying Matt Damon, so just keep that in mind.
Well, that doesn't make any difference to me. But anyways.
So real quick though, as well, this isn't what I've writ, but I just wanted to update you guys because I forgot to do it last time. I actually have finished the first draft of Primeval Power, so it's going through the editing process right now. It's going through the illustrating process. It should be out next year, like early next year is what I'm shooting for. Less than a year after the first Megazord comes out is what I'm shooting for. So, yep. And David here has finally finished reading it. So I have a question for you, David. Did I jump the shark? Was there a surfboard that Cortan got on and a Megalodon got jumped over by Cortan on the surfboard? Did it happen? Tell us!
You really want me to spoil it for that?
No, but... I mean, I guess at the same time, I don't want to ask you if you liked it or not, because if you said that you didn't like it, then great. Now I've lost a bunch of sales thanks to you. So, you are under...
Oh, come on. I wouldn't submarine your dynamic sequel. Come on.
The listeners aren't gonna trust whatever you say, so...
Oh, really?
Say, was it the best book ever or the worst book ever? Those are your two options. Now, obviously, it was the worst book ever, right?
Well, of the two.
Okay, cool. Worst book ever. You hear it? First review for Megazord Primeval Power.
I didn't say that.
For my very own co-host and unofficial editor, it's the worst book ever.
And unofficial book recorder.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David.
You didn't let me answer. You assumed. I said of the two, and then you just...
Several sharks have been jumped. So, all right, fine. What's your actual answer?
Well, I said of those two options, I would only say best because it improves on your original. However, if I had more options, I wouldn't quite put it there.
Right, I know, but like we're in a tough spot here. Like you don't want to spoil it, but you also don't want to badmouth it because this is my job, right? So,
well, I mean, it's
I'm trying to get people to buy my book.
It's putting bread on your table eventually within a year's time, you know.
Okay,
but like. No, I really did enjoy the book, and
well, you genuinely did think it was an improvement.
I think that to top the stunt that you had at the end, you're going to need a bigger megalodon. But anyway,
a mega megalodon, a gigalodon, an ultralodon.
Let's not do a gigalodon because that almost sounds like gigolo.
1.21 gigawatts.
Anyways, on that lovely note, Donald, maybe we should get into our actual topic for today, which is...
Mary Sues and how to avoid them, a.k.a. de-suification. Our tipperoonies for de-suification. The greatest title ever. So sophisticated. So professional. That's your catchphrase. You've said that like 12 times throughout this entire podcast. I might just have
probably about once every episode, isn't it?
I'd probably make a montage, like a clip show, just you saying so professional.
Well, give it until we get to episode 24, then you'll have a ton of material. But anyways.
Okay, so let's start.
The first question that comes up with this, obviously, Mary Sue's. If you don't know what a Mary Sue is, maybe now would be a very good time to explain it. And if you're looking for a resource that you might be able to use... the site Springhole has a lot of guides for writing, so we're taking their definition of what is a Mary Sue.
Right, and there's probably other ones too, but this is like the basic sort of thing. Yeah, so this is a good site, springhole.net, so yeah, we're going to do this. It says here, like, basically it's a character... It originates from Star Trek, I'm fairly certain. Like, the Star Trek fan fiction, someone wrote this character, her name was Mary Sue, She was a new character aboard the Enterprise, and she ended up being better at all the other crew members at all their jobs. I'm not familiar enough with Star Trek. I know the names, but I don't know who does what, so I'm going to avoid it to stop offending any Trekkies.
I would probably mix generations together, like, say, Kirk and Picard. I know, even I know that one.
Well, they're both the captains, so yeah. So is Kirk the pilot, though? Or is it Sulu? I don't know.
I believe Sulu is the pilot.
Okay, so Mary Sue is a better pilot than Sulu. What does Spock do? Mary Sue's
Spock was the scientist.
She's a better scientist than Spock.
She's a better translator than Uhura. She's a better doctor than Bones.
Right, that's right.
That kind of thing.
So she, and everyone loves her, and she doesn't have to work for it at all. She's just naturally better, and she's great. And she's also a self-insert character as well, often like exactly like the author in terms of personality. But like this is done often like as a sort of a like a lot of times the reason this happens is because a lot of times writers like they want to write themselves into a story. And this is how they do it. It's immature, but there's a reason for it being immature. Because often these people who write are young. So, and they're inexperienced. And, that's fine. It gets you writing. Like, just as long as you improve later, probably any writing is good. I don't know.
So, this is their basic definition of what is a Mary Sue.
Right,
we'll talk a little bit
yeah,
about
I didn't really say that,
they're
did I?
different for us. Mary Sue is a character, male, female, or otherwise, who is given or is expected to be given unwarranted preferential treatment and unearned respect, thereby compromising the integrity and believability of the story and or its characters. So that self-insert, that wish fulfillment character, sometimes I like to kind of call them like an escape, Right. They're like the ideal version of you in the story that you want to populate.
Right.
And you make the best version of yourself.
Right, and here's the thing, like, you can still have an escapist character without it being a Mary Sue. Like, this is the key difference between a Mary Sue and a typical escapist character. Like, a proper escapist character, a proper wish fulfillment character, is a combination of what we are and what we want to be. A Mary Sue is just what we want to be. And maybe it's what we are too, but it has none of the flaws of what we are.
So it has all the good points, but none of the bad stuff.
Yes, and it's all just what we want to be. So, what are the signs?
I tend to think a typical Mary Sue character is pretty obvious because they can't go wrong. They can't do anything wrong. They seem like perfect because of that. Everybody gets along with them like instantaneously. They seem to have all the luck in the world, but it's not even attributed to luck.
Right. Yeah.
Jumping just a bit ahead, I think the best way to avoid Mary Sue's is to make them more human.
Right. Obviously.
Maybe they don't need to be your flaws, but there should be some.
Right. Exactly. Like, every character has flaws, like good, bad. Like, they should have flaws. Like, by good and bad, I mean morality, not like how well written they are. So, badly written characters do not have flaws usually. But... So, anyways, I'm gonna get this out of the way because this is a touchy subject for some people because they get defensive. So I'm gonna mention Rey from Force Awakens very briefly and move on. I think she is absolutely a Mary Sue, and I know people get upset about that sometimes. But here's the thing: I don't think. People tend to, overanalyze it. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you're just saying that because she's female. No, Wonder Woman from the new Wonder Woman movie is absolutely not a Mary Sue. We're not just saying that because she's a strong female character. We're saying that because she's a poorly written, strong female character. In my opinion. If you think otherwise, that's fine. In my opinion, the whole movie is poorly written. Like, there's a lot of contrivances. There's a lot of, unoriginality. There's a lot of, bad, sort of jumps in logic and stuff like that. Rey being a Mary Sue is just the product of that, of it being badly written as a whole. And again, this is all my opinion. If you think it's the most well-written movie ever, and it's exactly what you want to be as a Star Wars movie, that's fine. You're definitely not alone. I'm more in the minority here, but...
Well, I was about to say you're probably more along the lines of the person who wants Rey to succeed.
Right. Like, I want Rey to be a good character. She just...
By the way, to throw something out, because we've mentioned this from a female perspective pretty much exclusively... They do occur in both genders.
Oh, absolutely.
Male, otherwise, as the definition said. However, I do want to throw out the really fun name that I've heard for a male Mary Sue is the Gary Stew.
That's pretty good. I just
think that's clever.
I think I just call him Mary Sue the other way, just because it's the original one was female, and that's why, and her name was Mary Sue, and it was named off of that. So
that's fair.
But Gary Stew's, I get that. But yeah. So a male Mary Sue, a Gary Stew, is a good example of that is Eragon from the Inheritance series. Now, to be fair, he actually works harder at what he does than Rey a lot of the times, but he is given quite a lot of everything to him at once, and he's...
The chosen one, out of nowhere, benefits, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like, he learns way too fast.
And I haven't even read the second book.
You've only read the first. I've read the first and the second. I have not read it beyond that. It's over now, though. I wonder what Christopher Pelly is doing with his life.
I wonder if he's still writing. Anyway,
I don't know.
trying to find something that's actually
You know
successful.
what? People crap on him all the time.
I shouldn't rag on him too hard.
Yeah, people crap on him all the time, but you know what?
We are a supportive writing podcast.
He was a 15-year-old writer who got published, and we're talking about him now. So, good on him. Let's just... Now, there wasn't a good writer, but he was successful, so... Good job.
Do you remember, was it the April Fool's Day gag or something, that somebody went on Wikipedia and changed Eragon's page to plot see Star Wars?
It was pretty good, yeah.
And how so many of the names sounded very Tolkien-esque.
It's pretty much the world of Lord of the Rings with the plot of Star Wars, but but anyways.
However, okay, well, I'm gonna say this last bit, and then we'll transfer into the next topic. I think the next part of this topic. One easy fix for a character that seems too Mary Sue-ish. I think if you mix part of your origin with a friend's,
right,
the resultant combo would not be so naturally self-service and probably less of a complete wish fulfillment character.
I'm not gonna lie, do that a little bit with Cortan. Like, he's got some of my flaws, he's also got some of yours. Like, his horrific ugliness, for instance.
Oh, thanks. That perfectly averageness.
You look like a dinosaur. Look at those teeth, they're enormous and full of bugs. Anyways.
Oh boy, enormous and so dirty because of the bugs. Right,
exactly.
But anyway, also available on Springhole
right.
is a Mary Sue test. And so
yes.
if you're curious, if you're worried that you can run your character through this test, and it is a very, very well thought out test. I mean,
yes, it absolutely
total,
is.
I think there are over 200 questions or something.
Right.
You don't need to answer all 200 of them, depending on what media the character
right,
is
some of them are
involved.
just for fan fiction, some of them are just for RPG characters, some of them are just...
that kind of a thing.
Yeah, so some of them are just for original characters, and there's some that's just for all of them, right? There's also, at the end, there's a de-suifying thing, where, like, if you check some of these, you get points back, so...
Right. The bulk of them, I think there are over 120 questions for every character thing, but then you have specific genre types, and those are more pertaining questions to, like, RPGs.
Right.
And those kind of things. And then, yes, as Donald said, at the end, you can earn points back, quote-unquote, with the desuifiers. Things like, for example, if your character is over 40, you'll get a point back because that doesn't really happen.
If they're over 40 and also look like they're over 40. They're not, like, over 40 and they look like a silver fox. Like I'll undoubtedly look when I'm 40.
Well, I mean, good old cougars. But anyway.
Because I'll shave all my head because my hair is thinning already, so I better shave it all and then pull off the sweet cue ball head.
Is that why your dad did it?
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on.
And then I could be like, excuse me, ladies, my eyes are down here. Anyway, so... but alas. Alright, so, at the end it gives you a score, though, and, it, like, lets you know, like, if it's at a certain rate, if it's a Mary Sue enough, more than 50 is a really bad Mary Sue. Last time I'll mention Ray, I promise. I put her in this test, and she got 223. Now, keep in mind, I did answer the parts of fan fiction, because her interacting with original trilogy characters was part of it. But even if you discount that, she's still over 180. Eragon is 117, which I thought was already ridiculous.
Well, I mean, 117 is like twice as bad as the Mary Sue threshold.
Right, that's but so... I did Cortan as well, and now some of that isn't applicable to my character in Megazoic because he's a dinosaur, and thus, like, is he really good looking? Does he have beautiful hair? Does he, like, have...
Well, he doesn't have hair, but his scales might be fascinating.
Right, yeah. I mean, he might have some great feathers going up there on his crest. So luscious. You could just stroke him with your claws. Anyways.
Nobody did,
Stroke
thank God.
your claws through his feathers of his
anyway,
hair.
moving on.
Anyways, and also he does... Romance isn't a key factor of the plot. Especially for him, so that doesn't apply to him either. But so even discounting all that, he gets... What does it get? Hold on, I have to look over my notes here. I'm so professional, right, David? I said it for you.
So professional.
Where did I do it? Okay, there we go. All right. He
Move
got an
your
11.
cursor like a few lines. It's not.
He got an 11, Which is, again, discounting some stuff that's still really good. Like,
Yeah.
one of the things that I did in order to keep him from being a Mary Sue, keep him from being this character who doesn't work for hard. He works really hard to do what he does, and he also makes mistakes quite often, and he is appropriately punished for them certain times. And, like, in terms of, like, other things, this is... I'm not going to get into specifics because it involves later books, and also, like, spoilers for this book. The MacGuffin of the first book, he's immune to some certain effects to it. As are some other characters. I'm not going to go into specifics because if you haven't read the book, I don't want to ruin the whole thing for you like I already have, probably, but throughout the entire podcast. Originally, when my original plans of this, of coming up with this version of the story, he was the only one, which is very Mary Sue-ish, which is a very Mary Sue-esque trait.
Right.
A simple step, I decided to change that. He's not the only one. There's a bunch of other characters.
And the good thing is that you make it play in, too. Yep. Let's not spoil anymore. I do want to make a disclaimer real quick, and they do this on the test as well. It is a very useful tool, but it is not like a foolproof answer. Your character is or is not a Mary Sue. It's
just a really good guide to get you a general idea if it's on track to be Mary Sue or not. So.
Yeah, no, I ran my alter ego through this. Now, you think with the very nature of an alter ego that it's going to tend towards a Mary Sue, and like a 50 is really bad.
Right.
I don't feel quite as bad after hearing about Eragon's and Ray's scores, but I felt pretty guilty about a 60.
I mean, again, though, like you said, he had a lot of things rooting against him, though, so it happens. So, and plus,
and to be fair, like I'm the only one who saw the like questions that I answered and all that fun stuff. In further defense, my alter ego has multiple personality aspects. Without the long version, I can't really explain it very well, but let's just say that there are times that he assumes a distinct character. And those are different enough that if I ran each of those individually, they might be a little bit different.
Right, but as a whole, he's definitely...
But I didn't want to run the results and find out how badly I was writing him, so I decided not to do that.
Well, it actually might be more balanced if you do, though. Like, you just get the average. But,
yeah, but anyway.
I don't know, but again, the test is actually really good, though. You guys should take it. I'll put a link to it in the episode description as well, so people can take it themselves.
If you're curious, I followed my curiosity down a rabbit hole just because I figured, well, what happens if you just decide to break the test, if you just decide to click everything, like everything that actually adds score and takes nothing away, what is the maximum that you can do?
This is gonna be good. Oh man.
Okay, so a couple of qualifiers. I did run different versions. I won't read all of them now, but I did run different versions. So, like, I run RPG only character, I ran an original only character, I ran a fan fiction character, self-insert kind of thing. However, if you click off everything, so like RPG and fan fiction and original character, which it is possible to throw that out there.
Right.
That you can have all of those in one character.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Ray was so high. Okay, I broke my promise. You know what? Forget... No promises whatsoever. I'm going to talk about Ray all I gosh damn want. Damn it. Gosh damn it. I can say gosh damn it, too. Anyways, go on.
Anyways, so the maximum score... And there is one question in the main, like, every character section. There's actually, like, a note that says automatic -4, so I didn't bother clicking that. That was like the one question I left undone, except for the DC stuff. The maximum score for a character, if you do that, if you just decide to not follow the instructions at all, because again, some of these questions contradict each other.
Right.
Like,
you have to work for this Mary Sue.
You have to work really hard for this Mary Sue.
To write this character this bad. All right. What's
the maximum score that you can get is a 939.
So,
and so I'm just thinking that compared to that, Ray isn't half that bad.
My reaction is, I can't even think of a reaction. Just total silence. Just like...
All right, but to be fair, I also ran that same character and clicked all of the de-suifiers as well.
Right.
Which, again, some of them contradict the very answers that you provided. But even that number is still a whopping 887.
That's a hell of a character. I should start writing. That'll be my next writing prompt, to write this character. Figure out how to make all these...
to make them all possible at the same time.
Somehow. I might have to do like your character, making like a triple sort of thing, like having different sort of personalities within him, so they all apply. Like,
So they all apply, yeah.
you can flip back and forth between each character.
Mine wouldn't be that contradictory, and that's why only in
Right,
retrospect,
I'd have to be
only
something like yours
got a
and then
60.
working at it, so...
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, well, it's a good test, but again, like, yeah, it's not foolproof. It's just good to keep in mind. And, like, I don't know. Like, and they also mentioned at the beginning that your character should be answers to some of these, because a lot of this is, like,
Yeah.
it's hard to... there's a very fine line between a Mary Sue and a really good escapist character. Like, there's certain characters who would be Mary Sue's except for one or a couple things that make them absolutely not.
Well,
Like-
and the other part of it, too, is that these are just character things in general.
Right.
You know?
Like, your character, if a lot of times in plots, especially like the kind of stories that like I like to write and a lot of people do write, your character has to do extraordinary things in extraordinary circumstances.
So here's one of the questions
So,
off
yeah.
the top of my head. One of the questions is, if you're a royal, click. Like,
Right.
hell, any royalty, you get an automatic point.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like that guarantees your character is a Mary Sue or not. It's just
Right.
a part of the
Does
character.
anyone think that King Joffrey is a Mary Sue? I mean, I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I'm assuming he's not. So-
But here's the thing. Like, the whole point is looking at character traits.
right.
If you have too many of these character traits, you're likely dealing with a Mary Sue or an escapist wish fulfillment character. And frankly, like it or not, the character will not be as strong if they're, without flaw, as there is if you have a distinct arc for them that has them
Right.
growing past it.
And again, one thing to keep in mind, I guess we'll put this in our tipperoonies for Desuify. I thought I'd mention it now because it's kind of important, I guess.
Sure.
This is only for main characters. If you have a character who would normally be a Mary Sue, but is like a side character, like a character like the main character looks up to,
Doesn't really
that's
matter.
fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, have that character.
Right.
Like it's not their story, so why not make them a Mary Sue? Like this is only for main characters. Like
I just think that, in general, all of your characters... Okay. Keep in mind,
Right.
Mr. Dinosaur story over there, this may not apply as much, but I think all of your characters should be human. And that is not to say that
Right.
they all need to be Homo sapiens.
right, as you
to
can tell,
say,
yes.
but that is that they all should have something about them that is like either a weakness or a negative side or just a bad thing.
Right.
Some bad habit or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be much.
It's just
to
yeah,
get him off
it's
this
not as
precipice.
important as the main character, but it's not as so.
That wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't
okay.
talking about main character. I was saying in general. I'm saying like
No, I know. I'm saying like you
all
don't have to worry
characters.
about giving them it's just still a human, but you don't have to worry about quite as much as the main character because unless they have like a big arc in the plot too, or if you're writing an
Okay,
ensemble
fair enough.
piece or whatever. You know, there's exceptions for everything. Just do whatever you want.
My point is this: that you should strive to make all of your characters relatable, and that means nobody is always 100% perfect.
Yeah.
Whatever form that takes is up to you.
I think it'd be really, really interesting to have the villain be a Mary Sue. Because then how do you beat him? So...
Oh, that is a good point. Well, maybe that's another episode for our dark comedy or not dark comedies or whatever. But anyway.
Yeah, I know. But I just think it'd be interesting. Yeah, these are just like various tipperoonies we have. So speaking of tipperoonies, David.
Are we good? Are we good to go on to those now?
Sure. Alright, so tipperoonies, David. What do you got?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the one about mixing origins. I also have a couple that are listed here as well. One of them is make their body realistic. People
Right.
aren't gifted with everything in one package, whether you wish it or not. I think there's a question that says people are massively appealing and they're super strong, even though they don't have the ridiculous musculature that should come with that kind of a thing.
Right. But, like, I don't know, like, see, like, that's, this is more important in writing, which I guess we're all writers as well, but, like, in terms of, like, book writing, I feel like in terms of movies, having attractive main characters isn't inherently bad because we're shallow. People are shallow. We like looking at attractive people. Like,
What was it about best butt?
right, exactly. That category is a great category, and the reason why it's a great category
It's because an animated character,
every
according
now
to
and
you,
then-
won it.
well, again, it's animated because it's sculpted
We
so
never
perfectly.
did agree on that, by the way.
That's why we chose Ghostbusters dude. What was his name? Like
Chris
Chris
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth. Yeah, that's why we couldn't decide on our female butt, so we compromised and chose a male butt. Anyways.
All right,
For
anyways.
more information, listen to episode 4 of The Writ. First cheap plug of the episode. We're doing great. Anyways.
That's got to be a record for how long it lasted. But anyway, because they can't all be drop dead gorgeous, and everyone wants them or wants to be them. You know,
Right.
I just think that their body should be realistic. Like, I'm apparently an average face, but that doesn't stop people from liking me.
I'm going to keep a comment silence because maybe people don't like you, David. Anyways.
All right, fair enough. Go ahead and say it anyway.
I'm sorry, that was unnecessarily cruel. Like, sometimes I go too far. And I apologize, David.
Sending missiles like every episode. For the
I
first
sent
time.
like a figurative missile to your heart then with that comment.
If your intent was to shoot an arrow through my heart.
Bullseye! Anyways.
For that reference, please watch The Producers.
What was I talking about? Anyways, so attractive characters. So, okay, Tom Hanks. He isn't the most attractive guy. Like, but people really like him, and people find him attractive because he's so charming. Like in the movies he plays. He's got a great personality, David. So he's kind of like what you could strive for in your writing. Basically, listeners, imagine all your characters as Tom Hanks. Male or female.
Good old
young
Woody.
and old. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. Figuratively, a Tom Hanks.
Well, I mean, and you're right. Having somebody to look to that's like, oh, my eyes are drawn to this person is not necessarily bad.
Right, but again, in movies, yeah, but in books, you have to be more careful because the only way we can know if they're attractive or not is how you describe them. And a lot of times people go overboard in how they describe them.
How much description do you really need? You described them once. You might need to describe them at a later juncture if they're doing something way different. But, like, how many times do you really need to describe the same character?
Right, yeah. Like, this is why in Megazoic I have kind of an unfair advantage, or disadvantage, I guess. Because I've described them once, but mainly I describe them just basically how their species is. And,
Makes it really easy to describe, right?
Right, exactly. Every now and then I might describe, like, oh, these guys...
And look, as he used his tail.
Right, exactly. Look, like, they use their tail constantly. They're constantly bungee jumping, or not bungee jumping. What's the word? What's it called?
Battering.
What's that thing called? The pogo sticking. They're like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. They're constantly using their tail to get all about. But also they use their horns. They use their claws. They use their short arms or their long arms. They use their...
I was about to say, they don't really
legs.
use the short arms. They can't.
Well, I mean, like, that's the thing. Some of them might have long arms, so they use them. So,
anyways,
point is, like, yeah, I describe them whenever the non-human part of their anatomy becomes important. So,
anyway, another tip: introduce some smaller, silly character flaws. As a random example, never flosses, and it bothers his or her friends.
I never floss. As far as I know, it doesn't bother anyone, or if it does, they haven't told me.
Well, what I'm saying is that this veneer of perfection can't last under something like that. Like, dude never flosses. He can't be perfect.
I mean, you know, okay, I probably should get around to flossing at some point.
Well, you and me both. Anyway,
no one's perfect.
Tipperoonie, dull their abilities a shade. For intelligence, this means, like, they're not able to best professionals on the very first try.
Right.
I mean, come on, prodigies don't come out of the womb quoting Shakespeare.
Right.
For abilities, it could look like a training montage. They earn their ability, they earn their experience, but it takes more screen time.
Right, exactly. Like here's the thing. Wonder Woman, this is why she's not a Mary Sue and Ray is. Wonder Woman, at the beginning of the movie, Wonder Woman, you haven't seen Wonder Woman, have you?
No, I haven't.
But
of course I haven't. But anyway,
of course you haven't. You'll get to it at some point. So she
That's the plan.
Does like a long training montage, and since they're like semi-immortal, it's probably hundreds of years. So she works her butt off to be as good as she is. Ray doesn't. It's not that she did it off screen.
Her butt into shape.
Like sometimes you can be like, sometimes they've trained for this long time. It's not on screen. Ray is specifically mentioned in the movie this is her first time. This is the first time she's done this.
She's never picked up a lightsaber, and she's suddenly fending off Kylo
She's done
Ren,
all she's done before is be a humble junker on the Tatooine ripoff planet. Yeah, like So the only thing that's justified for her skills is her skills with mechanics, because she deals with that constantly. But
Which
she goes
could
far
explain
beyond
why
that.
she's so good at piloting, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I could explain that a little bit, but not as good as she is, basically. So, but yeah, so it could have been avoided if she's been like shown to like sort of do semi sort of training, like even if in her humble times when she's sitting on in that shack that she made, if she had been like taken like a blade, not a lightsaber obviously, but like a fake blade, and like kind of twirling it around constantly,
swings, you know.
That could have solved a lot of issues. Like even just that little few seconds of screen time of her just
and it doesn't take much. I mean, there's a reason they call it a training montage. You don't show
Right,
everything.
exactly. But that way, by just doing it that one time of her flipping it around as like a toy sort of thing, the viewer gets the impression that she's done this a lot. So...
Yep. All right, another tip. Vary or shrink your supporting cast. By this, I mean reduce the number of people who are just clingers on or sycophants.
Right.
Or maybe it's even something so simple as being realistic in a friendship process, because that takes time.
Yeah, that's like a common Mary Sue trait. Everyone likes them. Anyone who doesn't like them is a villain. So.
Well, or they change and
it's not just to like them; it's that they immediately like them.
Well, and there was a question on the test, does the person end up correcting to the main character's point of view? Like, that's a big Sue trait. Obviously, they can't be silver tongued every time.
Right.
So. Tip: it may hurt, but cut some of the drama from their origin. They don't need to be angel and emperor, prodigy and world class athlete, born a first human and a demigod, that kind of a thing.
They could. Here's the thing with all these tips: you can make any of this work. But just make sure you be careful with it, add some other flaws, and for the love of God, don't do all of it.
You do not need the whole kit and caboodle. The whole kit and caboodle is the problem, right?
Right. Like, you can have your character be a prodigy, or an angel, or an emperor, or a first human, or a demigod. You can, but you don't have to. And if you do, keep these other tips in mind, basically. So,
right. I mean, you pick your poison rather
these
than
are just traits that are very Mary Sue-esque. But again, like the test says...
Like, if there is one character that is all of those things, so like prodigy, world-class athlete, born a first human and a demigod, and that's why he's an angel and heir to the Emperor's throne. I mean, like, holy crap, man. If that's your character, of course it's a wish-fulfillment character.
But here, look at this. Something like Thor, from the first Thor movie especially. He is a demigod. I mean, he's a god. Actually, he's also a prince, and he's next in line for the throne, and he's got a lot of power. He's got a very special weapon that no one else has. He's got, like, all this great stuff. He's super strong. He's super durable. I think he's stronger than most other Asgardians. It's never really confirmed. I know they're all probably super strong, but he's definitely the strongest.
But here's the punchline with Thor.
He's also very brash, and he's also very... Like, he's very quick act too quick, and he gets punished for it. So
and he gets banished because he's such an imbecile that he can't control his war hunger.
Right, so exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. That's a major flaw.
Right,
but
that's
yes,
why,
obviously, gods in general, as characters are more likely to score.
Right, but the point with this is you can have these characters not be Mary Sue's if you write them well. That's why I mentioned, like, a lot of times with Mary Sue's, the problem is just the writing's not that good. And the Mary Sue is the result of that.
Vet it with a trusted friend. Not just your yes man, but one who actually challenges you to change, like, frivolous things or make him more realistic. And here I have to make a shout out to one of our other collaborators who has done a lot of that work with me on that, about this alter ego. I mentioned earlier that I differentiated the aspects, and that's mostly at his behest. That doesn't change the overall character scoring a 60 on this test, but you know,
without him it would have been 100. Who knows? So.
Well, I don't know. I honestly don't, but it would have probably been higher.
Well, yeah, and also, like, I'm going to shout out to one of my collaborators. You have helped me quite a bit. Not so much with this. I mean, not to brag, but I feel like I'm pretty good with non-Mary Sue's. But you've helped me in general. Like, you're not a yes man in terms of my writing. If something is bad with my writing, you let me know. While after tomorrow 3.
It is true. It's true.
So having someone like that like a person who reads over it can help. Yeah,
absolutely. Another set of eyes is never a bad thing, especially if you use what they say with the way it's intended, rather than it's a personal attack. Like, if I'm attacking your character and you get offended, it's probably a Mary Sue, which means that you've either got some different choices you could make, or maybe you should go back to the drawing board completely. Because, it's nice to see a character who does the things that you want to do. Nice to see somebody who acts the way you wish you could be.
And you can absolutely have that, but just be careful with that.
But if that's the reason you write the character, then that just becomes a problem with other people, because it doesn't have the same effect for other people. Like, it's my alter ego, and because it's my alter ego, he's kind of an ideal version of me.
Right.
Is why he scored so high. Like, there are a whole lot of things I could have clicked and I didn't. Obviously, I didn't even score 100. But it's still obviously a Mary Sue to a bunch of other people.
Right.
And the test basically proved that. Right. So, I mean, it's a process. You have somebody help you in the right direction. You have your character have legitimate notable weaknesses that it can't overcome just at the snap of a finger or simply by existing, perhaps.
Right.
You know, that's how it works. That's what it takes.
And this is what's important.
I've been monopolizing this. Do you have any other tips to add?
Yeah. So what I was gonna say though, is what's important to note. We're not trying to attack your characters. You can absolutely write an escapist character. You can absolutely have them do these extraordinary things, but also have flaws. These are not things we're telling you to change. I mean, some of them probably. These are things we're telling you to add. That's the thing. They can have all these amazing things, but add flaws.
By adding it might change is kind of
right. Yes, but what I'm saying is that we're not trying to condone not have fun with your character as a writing. Don't have fun with them doing these incredible things that are these so awesome sort of things. Yeah, of course you can still do that. Just give them flaws.
The whole point of this is to do what you want to do, the stories you want to tell. That means having a character that's very similar to you, then that's not wrong.
And honestly, if you want to write a Mary Sue and you have no plans of publishing in your works and writing Mary Sue is what's fun for you, do it. That's fine by us. That's if it makes you happy, absolutely. Do it. We can't make you do anything.
However, outside of you,
right? Exactly.
That won't impact your audience,
right?
And that's why avoiding these characters is such a better choice,
right? That's what I'm saying. If you want to write a story that's good, to a lot of people, don't do this. But
right.
If you don't, if you want to write something just for you, and you want to write Mary Sue's, who cares? Do it. Don't listen to. What do you listen to this podcast for? I guess though, or
I guess I don't know.
We're just so entertaining. And speaking of us being entertaining, if we are so entertaining that you have to get a hold of us,
absolutely, that'd be great.
Email us at mattd@matthewdonaldcreator.com for any questions or comments you have about the show and to either of the hosts. I actually have our first email here from one of our listeners. Here we go.
What?
Dear Writ, just wanted to say that Matt David is the most average-looking, dinosaur-looking man I have ever seen in my life. This is clearly a real letter. It actually has that written down here. This is clearly a real letter. From one of your biggest fans, Bob Bobberson. So be like Bob Bobberson, listeners, and email us.
And talk about how I look like a dinosaur, even though you can't see video, right?
And also an average-looking man.
And an average-looking male who happens to look dinosaur. Yeah.
What an insult to our species, that the average man looks like a dinosaur. Anyways. Okay, so you can...
But you can use your own email system.
Right.
Send it directly there. Or if you go to Donald's website at MatthewDonaldCreator.com, I am not spelling that out. We've done it too many times. You can just use the contact page there and it'll go directly to us as well. However, we do request that if you're going to direct it to a certain host that you put that in the email somewhere, because obviously Matt D is generic. It does work for both of us.
Exactly.
So.
Because I would personally be very offended if someone said that I looked like a dinosaur and an average man. But you would read that what else is new? So be sure to specify which one it is, right? So
maybe it's both. I don't know. Anyway,
we both look like average bin dinos.
Anyways, I believe with the advent of your publication and your sequel is first draft is done, that you probably have social media and professional stuff that you'd like to follow.
I absolutely do, David. You can follow me on my professional Facebook account at Matthew Donald Creator, or my Twitter at MatthewDonald64. Why 64? You know what? It doesn't matter. I've severely neglected my Twitter account lately. It's I need to get on it. It's a barren, twitless wasteland with not a tweet in sight for many months. It's a mess. It's deserted. There's
I was about to say, maybe it's 64 because it's been 64 weeks since you got a Twitter and you haven't used it.
It's been 64 weeks since my last tweet. That's why and I somehow knew this would happen when naming my Twitter account. So I've got foresight. Anyway,
you realize that 64 weeks is more than a year, right? So
you know what? 64 moments, because moments is ambiguous. So
64 measures of time.
If you followed me, maybe I just need some dear listeners to follow me. Then I can get the inspiration I need to get back on my Twitter boots and put on my Twitter hat and saddle up on the old Twitter horse.
And Spurs.
Yeah, exactly. It's Twitter anyway. Spurs, yeah. And the Twitter bird, it's a giant blue.
Okay.
It's a giant blue bird, like the Twitter bird.
Oh,
it's
it's like Big Bird, except blue.
Yeah, it's also flightless.
Oh, okay, and it's really like Big
a blue.
Bird.
Oh wait, Big Bird but blue. Have you seen Follow That Bird?
No. Are you
That
talking about it?
happens.
What are you talking about? Angry Birds? I'm confused.
No, Follow That Bird is the Sesame Street movie, and Big Bird gets caught in the circus,
Oh, doesn't he turn blue?
and he actually gets turned blue. So
Yeah,
that's my Twitter
I was gonna
bird.
say, doesn't he? Yeah, that's your giant blue Twitter bird.
Yeah, that I own the Twitter force, or a blue chocobo. You play Final Fantasy, David?
What? Are you serious? I have no idea what it is. Moving on.
It's a flightless bird mount. It's a running joke throughout all the Final Fantasy games. Even though they're all like in different universes, that they each have a chocobo. The last one, like Final Fantasy 15, the one that came out last year, had a lot of people really excited because you could ride the chocobo and it would drift. People got really hyped about this
across
drifting.
that barren wasteland of your Twitter, right?
Right. If you want to see me drift on my blue chocobo, listeners, follow me on Twitter. Anyway, guilt trip session over. Follow me at MatthewDonald64.
As always, listeners, thank you for any feedback, any episode ideas. If you have questions for us about your character, first recommendation: run it through the Sue test yourself. And
Right.
if you still need some help from there, please send us an email. We'd love to do something and
Absolutely.
help you vet out.
Yep. As
Other
much as
than
I
that-
like Bob Barberson's email,
we
nice
would appreciate some real letters that actually have meaning as opposed to just insulting one of the hosts.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
How
do you
dare
wanna
Bob
tell us
Barberson
what's
do
going
that?
on?
I'm gonna have a good talk with him because I would never do that, David. Just
Never. You'll send
All right.
missiles through my heart, but you'll never do that.
Figurative
Do we want to
missiles,
spoil
yes.
what's going on for next month?
Nah, I think we should keep it a
Donald?
secret. It's Halloween though, so we're probably gonna do something
Well, maybe it'll be something like Halloween-y, more than not. But
more
anyway,
macabre.
go ahead and look forward to that. We'll talk to you next time. Until then, this is the show where us two twits who talk about Writting have twitted ourselves out. And it's just
Very
like his
twitted
Twitter,
out.
it's barren.
Very twitted out. I am very barren. Like our kid that is this podcast, it's our last kid because I am very barren right now.
Oh, wow.
And on that note,
On that note, thanks, listeners. I'm Matt David.
I'm Matt Donald. Yes, see you lot.
We'll see you in the
ya.
next life.
Thank you for finishing it for me. Good work, David.